Hey everybody, welcome back. Here we are for another week. Actually like kind of getting close to that towards the end of the semester, or closer, I should say. And I have something new to introduce to you. Data journalism, yes. So as I said, the second half semester progresses, we get more into the reporting end of things. But first, don't forget that the Megalomania assignment, the first draft, of course, is due on Monday when this will be posted, and then the rewrite will be due a week from today, meaning when this is posted Monday. And yes, if you need to go back to Bill Borden, you can. But you know, remember that you can always go to me. I can help you with like basically how to shape the story, that sort of thing. What to lead with, that sort of thing. But I like to see you kind of at least like guess to see like what you think the lead is first, and like most of you have, it appears, and I appreciate that. So, anyway, again, this one thing I told my in-person classes. This is a story that essentially like morphs from like a boring business story into like essentially a TMZ story. And if any of you have ever seen like TMZ, it's pretty much just like about anything splashy, anything sensational, anything like kind of just like people behaving badly, that sort of thing. Okay, so actually they get a lot of things, they get most of everything right. So, um, okay, so just share the screen here. Um, so yes, and don't forget that the press release is the top of the press release is not theme of the story. It's but there is a paragraph or two in the story that basically should be the theme of the story. Okay. Um, okay, so we're gonna deal. The textbook doesn't do a great job of actually dealing with this at all, but that journalism is essentially something that kind of really, oops, yeah, right, I get into that. Kind of like really kind of started to take shape over the last 10 years or so. I call it the Yelp effect, and you shouldn't be like intimidated by the title because data. What I do with you guys is actually something that's a little bit low level data journalism, but data journalism is essentially something that has become much more important in the digital age over the last 30 years. And it's basically taking numbers and making them a story. Now, we've actually dealt with this a little bit, as you know, um, when we were dealing with the worksheets assignment. And in the worksheets assignment, I kept telling you, and I was kind of harkening ahead, that basically, sometimes numbers tell the stories by themselves, like a 53% murder increase. That was remember from the worksheets. That was one of the things that they dealt with. Okay, um, and or like a 10% increase in skin cancer, that sort of thing. Data journalism essentially is basically taking numbers and turning them into a story. But a lot of times, I call it again the Yelp effect, where they essentially like top 10 lists, top five lists, trending stories, and everything have become so much more popular because now with the internet and programs like Excel, like Microsoft Excel spreadsheets and everything, it's much easier to actually do that kind of thing. And so your new assignment, this will be posted on Monday, and I'm recording this over the weekend. So is actually just that is actually to write a trending story based on data, numbers. I'm not asking, it shouldn't be a heavy lift. But I am actually doing something differently this year that I've done in past years. And Because so many times I've done this story and I thought to myself, I've had editors who have helped me out providing a template for like what direction I should go in. So I'm actually asking you guys to actually essentially write a story that's half template, half not. Okay. Um, and essentially what this will do will provide more than a guide in what direction you should go. Okay. I mean, let's look at like data journalism a little bit. Like I said, the book doesn't really deal with it. Right? I provide a link in this. This is the new assignment, I should say. It's the fifth assignment, data journalism assignment. Okay. And I provide a link and also a video to kind of maybe provide some context and help and how data journalism is useful and helpful. And I talk about this type of journalism become increasingly popular in a digital age, bringing about the creation of ensuing popularity of sites like Yelp, Letterbox, IMDb.com, making lists and turning them into stories. There's the there was a company called Knight Ridder. Now they have the Knight Foundation. They actually put together something that's actually kind of pretty instructive, and I provided a link within the assignment entry for this, and essentially is data about data journalism. What is data journalism? If you click down here to what is data journalism, And they provide other things too, and it provides essentially what is a definition for it. And one of the big differences with data journalism is, again, like it actually kind of reports about not just one number, like 53% increase, but essentially a collection of numbers and how we can turn them into a story. And I'm not sure why I'm getting that now, but I'm getting a okay, actually maybe it's this right here. Okay. Quick guide. Actually, I have it right here. I'm sorry. I already clicked on it. Get lost. Okay. All right. How to become a data journalist? What is data journalism? There are so many definitions out there, and it's hard to see the forest through the trees. Some say data journalism the same as data-driven journalism. Others insist in the two being two different disciplines. Okay, in this article, we'll consider this the same discipline. All right. So how to become? So what does it take? And essentially, it talks about you're essentially like digging into numbers, scraping numbers, and then turning them, and like just like I said, into like some sort of a trending story, some sort of story that basically identifies like maybe like certain things that are going on in different towns, like, and you compare one town to the next, like one murder rate to the next. Um, it's all about developing a sort of like a data knowledge base, and that may sound like more intimidating than it really is. Okay, but I provided this link for you to maybe like provide some sort of background on what it is. But basically, I like to kind of simplify it in this way. Again, going to Yelp. And here is Yelp.com. One of the most popular data journalism assignments essentially is, again, a trending assignment, some sort of numbers showing trending over the years, or like some sort of comparison of the data. Okay. And that's actually kind of really one and the same if you look at it, because top 10 lists essentially are like that. They're like trending, you put together the top, and then one of the most popular, I'll tell you, data journalism stories is like top 10 safest towns, top 100 towns in New Jersey with SAT scores. I actually provide a couple of examples in the story itself. Every New Jersey schools district graded in 2020 state report. Where do you rank? They actually have like some separate grading system. I don't think they use this anymore, but the idea is to actually report on a trend and show like what, first of all, is maybe like the overall trend here and nugget here that's maybe more important, just like a inverted pyramid story that's important about this data we have here. So it says for the third year in a row, New Jersey has released its controversial rating system. So the story is actually about particular story is about actually the rating system itself and how it was released. But then as we go from macro to micro, as we go down into it, we find out some background and like into why they do this test. It's part of like the No Child Left Behind Act from 20 years ago. It's a controversial test. And just the release is actually a big story in itself because it's such a controversial thing. It basically compares one school district to the next. It makes maybe certain school districts that everybody thought were like great school districts actually maybe look weaker than they are. And some districts, maybe they're weaker than everybody thought they were, actually better than they are. And actually, what we did here essentially is we actually highlighted some of the districts that actually did better than originally thought. Like Millburn is a town in New Jersey that's actually kind of very rich and wealthy, and people expect that to do well. But Cherry Hill isn't necessarily the same. So Manalapan's also kind of a rich district, that sort of thing. And then you provided some sort of a list, okay? And you can see some, if you're familiar with New Jersey schools, you see like a lot of these magnet schools, they call them like the top. Marine Academy, it's called MAST, Marine Academy of Science and Technology. Mendham Township School District. These are the top school districts based on this rating system they have. Then you go down to the bottom, you see what's the lowest school district. God, it's actually kind of humiliating, right? But this is stuff we used to do for Patch long time ago. I think they still do this stuff, but and you go way down to the bottom, man. There's a lot of districts. Way. Actually, I'm sorry. This is actually schools, I guess. So it's like, I mean, if you go down to like 1,200, then you start to see like Tuckerton, and that's down at Ocean County. So this is actually pretty low, on the list. So it's a lot of times what comes out of these data journalism stories are lists that show. In this case, I guess I showed like the top 1,000 or so. These are actually not school districts, but schools. There's actually like I think 565 school districts. So I provide other examples here, probably maybe a little bit better. This is actually like, there's like 535 towns, I think it is, in New Jersey. And what we did was we actually like, so the actual release of the list is interesting in itself. So we actually basically had a lead announcing the release of the list. New Jersey's property taxes highest in the nation, just keep going up. So you shouldn't be surprised more money's being taken out. And then essentially we show like the towns that maybe like were a little bit higher than others. You know, like this essentially is the towns with the highest average tax rate for each house, how much they have to pay, that sort of thing from top to bottom. Sometimes, a lot of times though, the leads aren't as like broad as that. Okay, a lot of times they actually, like I said, they show like maybe some sort of specific trend. And you know, actually what I should have done was like this top and school districts in New Jersey, and then NewJersey.com does this too. Other publications do this too. And there's a company called Niche that does this. Of course, they also rate colleges. You know, the big news in the actually like in the they used to release the U.S. News World Report, and the big news in that was that Rutgers jumped like a really high from like 100, like number 100 to number 30 in the nation. So that would be like if you're going to do like a local lead right here, you would probably focus on that. You know, if you're going to do a data journalism story on top colleges and you're looking at Rutgers as your audience, your lead would be like focused on Rutgers jumping, leaping 70 places. You know, because that would be local, it would be in proximity, that sort of thing. So, just let's see here, just calling up. Yeah. So in New Jersey 101.5, see they top 10 best school districts in New Jersey. So you know they did something similar. Like a lot of times, like I said, it's like a broad lead. Let's see here. New Jersey's top high schools latest school test scores. This might be. I mean, also we've done like things like SAT scores. You see, like up here, they put up like the highest school district, that sort of thing. Okay. Um, Average. This will be related to what we're doing. New Jersey, Jersey.com tax hikes. New Jersey, 10 years. Let's see what comes up with that. This is actually related to the assignment we're going to be doing right now, because we're going to actually like do a story on the last 5 years, like how taxes have gone the last 5 years. So this is actually going to be similar to what we're doing now. Jersey property taxes climbed 70% in 11 years, remain highest in the U.S. Okay. So they're looking at 11 years in this one. Jersey's highest in nation property taxes continue to climb this year to an average of 7,281. So that's essentially the trending figure that they keep going up and up and up. And then instead of like this being essentially a list, this actually just kind of takes the average amount, right? And that's the data it's going to show. And then basically, look, it's not necessarily like you may think like, well, how's that new news? You keep preaching all semester that news is the plural of news. So like what 11 years is not new. Well, that's the thing, is that actually it's the trend. It's the past 11 years. 11 years going from 11 years to now. It's the trend. The now trend is what's happened this past 11 years, including now. What is the trend right now? And the trend is that it's gone up 7,000 on an average, $281 for each house in New Jersey. Okay. And then it breaks it down into smaller things, basically like, individual municipalities where they've had high tax increases, that sort of thing. And then there's actually one thing I'm going to ask you out of this story, which is about tuition hikes that I'm going to do, for that's your story, is to get reaction from students about it. Okay. And I'm actually going to put up I'm actually putting up a discussion point that will actually basically ask you to comment on that. Let me show you exactly like what I did. Okay, then again, this is actually a little early, so I haven't actually fully pinned this yet. This will be pinned on and live on Monday. But I'm asking you guys to actually contribute for the bottom of the story, not the top. not the middle, because basically we're going inverted pyramid here. The most important thing here is basically the trend of tuition hikes in New Jersey. Sorry, in Rutgers will be the theme of your story, and I'll show you that in a minute. Get more specific, and then like provide some sort of reasons for the why that happened, that sort of thing, and maybe like particular years or year. And there's one glaring year actually really sticks out where maybe it was tuition hikes were at its highest, and then maybe like one year where essentially like tuition hikes were at their lowest over the last 5 years. Okay, and this is what journalists often do. They look at maybe a block of time like 5, 10 years and see like where the trend is going. And what I'm asking you to do is for the bottom of the story to provide balance to the story, because the top of the story will deal with the university's opinion and why they feel like these tuition hikes are necessary. But I'm asking you as students to provide feedback, okay, right here, just like we did before. Again, this is going to be something I'm looking for class participation on basically how this has affected you, okay, these tuition hikes. And, you know, maybe you don't mind them. I don't care, right? But provided personal experience or anecdote that basically kind of you can use for these stories that for the bottom of the story. Because again, the inverted pyramid, thinking that the most important stuff, the trend of tuition hikes, why they happen, that sort of thing is most important. And then the student's reaction, I have to say, because you didn't actually create the tuition hikes yourself, is actually the less important part of the story. So that goes down toward the bottom. Okay. You're not the authorities on tuition hikes, that sort of thing. You're not the ones that impose them. So you're not at the top. I'm sorry. So, so anyway, so that's what I'm asking you to do is actually to contribute to that discussion point. So again, let's get a little bit more specific about the assignment. You see, like I said, and then don't forget, and then here's the rewrite for the megalomania. Again, this is before everything, before this video is going to be posted. So you're gonna. So before I showed you like a story that showed you the average average property tax hikes in New Jersey. When this story I'm asking for is not the average tuition hikes. I'm asking for the trend of tuition hikes over the last 5 years. I've had that often confused over the last few years. I'm not looking for an average. I mean, if you want to provide the average over the last 5 years within maybe the middle of the story, that's fine. But I'm looking for the trend, like where the tuition has been going. Has it been going up? Has it been going? Does it continue to go up? And that's actually important. Why is that important? It's important to show people, especially people who might be thinking of sending their children here, or even the students themselves, to see like, is college affordable or not? Is it going to continue to be unaffordable? Is it heading in the direction of unaffordability, even more unaffordability? So you want to look back at like, and this is going to be starting from 2019 to now, because it's the years from 2019-2020 to 2023-2024. It's 5 academic years. What's the trend there? What was the height increase every year? Okay. Or was it every year? Okay. And is it continuing in a pattern that might be a little bit disturbing, for some people? Okay. So you're going to incorporate the elements of data journalism into a story that focus on Rutgers tuition. Details of the assignment are below. The story has a template that you must follow. So I'll show you that in a bit. This actually, again, is a big break away from what I've done in the past, which is pretty much just fend everybody to the wolves and like come up with the story for themselves. And I swear to God, the reason why I'm doing it, providing an actual template for the story is because 9 times out of 10 people got it wrong. I got to be honest with you, and that's not anybody's fault. But I feel like this is actually something that they do like on places like Bloomberg and other business sites where like news comes in fast. They actually provide a template for how they want the story to be written, and you have to essentially fill in the blanks, almost like a quiz, and basically, fill in the blanks for your story and basically create a story from that template. Okay. So typically in data journalism, the story is very, very similar to the stories we've already done. I'm actually going to provide the link to this too. This tax story. But anyway, I showed you a couple of them right here. Some of the examples right here. And actually, I meant to show you also the Yelp effect. Going to here, like, this is the big reason why, like, we've been going in this direction. Top 10 restaurants. These are very popular. And we've done things like steal them from Yelp and other places like that, where they collect this sort of data. That's sort of our top 10 restaurants in New Brunswick. And then they'll actually like list them based on their own ratings and that sort of thing. And you got Destination Dogs rated number 1, Nye Brother number 2, Some of these I've never heard of. Papa Giglio's. Oh, I think I heard of that one. Victoria's, Trata, Italia. I know there's gonna be one or two that I've eaten out here. Delta's never ate there. Wow. So you can see there's 10, and then it actually goes off. Usually they have a frog on the peach on here or whatever, but the top 10 restaurants in New Brunswick, maybe if I put near Rutgers. So when, these sites started to pop up, then respectable news outlets like NJ.com and that sort of thing, and even New York Times started doing them, and they started getting a lot of hits and clicks. Top 10 restaurants, and they said, hey, so this is a story. It's like a trend. It's like, what are the most popular places right now to eat if you're in college and you're hungry and you don't want to suffer at the college cafeteria, the Broward Commons or something like that. Sorry, no offense to them. Top 10 restaurants near Rutgers. Okay. All right, so let's see what they got here. They might just have something, and they're probably not going to list it. California. Oh, there we go. Smashville, Gin Soy. Again, places I never heard of. Sorry, Fritz's Restaurant, Sahara Restaurant, Bridge Turkish. I think I've walked past these places. Actually, here's one that I'm actually into because I like Thomas Sweets. Ice cream near Rutgers. How about that? It's got to be number one. Come on, Dairy Deluxe. No, Thomas Sweets. There we go. I've been eating at that same place since 1988. Maybe even earlier. I've eaten the same damn concoction too. I eat chocolate ice cream with Oreo cookies. It's a blending. Oreo cookies, mint cookies, and Reese's peanut butter cups. I'm not a fan of peanut butter. So anyway, yeah, there's number two. It should be number one. Surreal Creamery. I never even heard of some of these places. Trill Yogurt. I think I heard that. Anyway, so why is it trending? Because that's what's most popular now. And maybe we do a story a year from now, and then maybe that changes, and then we show the trending a year from now. We say, well, last year we reported that Thomas Sweets was number two, but people came to their right mind and said that. No, I'm kidding. He wouldn't put that in there, but that's opinion. And now it moved up to number one. Okay, just like we were talking before about Rutgers moving from like 100 to 30, right? That's a trending story. You basically yes, it's a top 100 colleges story, but the big theme for that story, if you're writing that story for a Rutgers audience, a local audience, is that Rutgers jumped 70 spots. Okay. Ahead of my son's school, Boston University. What gives? I don't get it. Anyway. So yeah. So that's what you're going to do here again is essentially just look at the last 5 years, but we'll talk about that in a minute. You'll see that each story identifies a trend, provides a little detail on each trend. So it provides not just the actual trend, but it provides a little substance. Why does that trend exist? Why do people feel that way? Maybe with that top 10 ice cream place, we include some of the comments that are on the Yelp for why people voted for what they did, and they provide some context for the story, maybe because you don't want to just say, here's a top 10, that's it. You want to say, like, maybe there's something special they do at Thomas Sweets that they don't do elsewhere. Personally, I think that if I were to comment on it, I would say, like, well, one big reason why Thomas Sweets is better than Dairy Queen, for instance. Dairy Queen is something similar, the Blizzard, but when they blend everything together, it's all come in big chunks, but the way they do the blending of Thomas Sweets is like really fine, and it's becomes part of the ice cream. So there's stuff like that adds context. You rate a trend like why Rutgers jumped 70 places, you get comment. Well, the honors college has become a lot better, and a lot of people are feeling a lot better about that. They've had a lot more courses. Since they actually came out of COVID, they've actually done a good job with in-person classes, that sort of thing. So you provide maybe some of the reasons coming from maybe the administration, and then you provide maybe some of the reasons from the people who are actually go to school at Rutgers and that sort of thing. So there's a list itself, no fancy graphic, just a list that shows who pays the most in taxes. That's how they typically do it. Who has the most substance abuse cases? This is what we show in some of these examples I showed here. And then in this time, Simon's case, when Rutgers had tuition increases over the last 5 years. As you did with the Megalomania story, we cite reports. Basically, I'll show you what I'm talking about, but essentially our sources, okay, where you get it from. This type of journalism has become increasingly popular in a digital age. I did an interview a couple of years ago with David Willis, a report for the National Park Press, who actually talks about what he does something similar. He does consumer reports and does things like top five, like hammers or something like that, or he does, or top 10 worst places to buy hardware or something like that, or something like, and he'll actually it's actually gets veers into commentary actually. So he'll do stuff like that. So he'll talk about like the value of actually that kind of journalism. All right. So another thing, a place I was going to show you, like, I mean, this is actually like where they show a lot of school data. New Jersey has his own school data site where you can actually get a lot of this stuff, and actually you can actually call this stuff up yourself. And actually, I called up the graduation rates from I think it was right here, the most recent place, and a lot of times you have to go by the most recent statistics. And in this case, is 2021. And I actually was able to call up this. And it comes usually in Excel spreadsheet. Excel spreadsheets have become very important in journalism. And this is where you can do things like sorting. I don't know if you've done this thing, how much you've done this in other classes and that sort of thing. And these are the graduation rates in like almost every school and everything at every district. And what you can do is you can do things like sort it. So this column 11 is actually the actual graduation rate from 2020. I think it's 2022, actually, not 2021. Anyway, you go to the data part of Excel spreadsheet, you go to sort, and then column, you go to column, you want to see like who had the highest graduation rates in 2022. You go to column 11. And then you want to do largest to smallest, the highest rate. All right. So you do okay. And then we find out, see it right now, it's in alphabetical order. Now it goes to this one. You can see like Cherry Hill is number 2. How about that? This is, let's see what's number 1. Area Vocational Technical School. So Mercer County is number 1. How about that? Bergen County Vocational, Jersey City Public Schools. Nice. These are all like hundreds, so they're all tied. Then you get into 99.7. You see like, man, Newark School District. How about that? Wow, that's pretty good. Yeah, they've always been kind of like, beat upon it and everything. These districts, and look, they're doing much better now. Good for them. So yeah, that's how you find the data. That's how you find the trends, that sort of thing. What I'm asking you guys to do is not, you don't have to go through an Excel spreadsheet file, that sort of thing. Actually, what you're going to do is you're going to start off by doing this. So here's your template. Please follow this template, which actually I write in here. And actually, but I also provided a link to it. So you can actually just pull this right here. It's actually a Microsoft Word document. Yes, I'm actually telling you, I'm actually giving you the story, almost like plagiarizing for you. But don't worry, it's not plagiarism, okay? And there it is right here by whoever, okay? So this is why I want you to write the lead, okay? And why do we do this? Because actually you are learning. You're learning a sort of system of journalism. And yes, you are tracing essentially, but you're learning a system of journalism that is important. And the best way to do it, to teach it, honestly, because I've found like really no other good way of teaching it, is to actually show you the pattern and have you actually essentially fill in the blanks, okay? So Rutgers has raised tuition how many times over the past 5 years? So you have to figure out how many times Rutgers has raised tuition over the last 5 years. Okay, was it 5 times? Was it 4 times? Was it 3 times? Was it 1 time? Was it 0? All you need to do is fill in that blank right there, okay? And then you hand in this assignment like with this right here. But this is not the whole story right here, by the way. I'll get to that. And then what you have to do is it's a who, what, where, why, when story, okay? So basically, you want to say like what it's caused. So it's causing students to pay. That I can tell you, the tuition has gone up. So I can tell you that much. To pay pay thousands of dollars more for education at the institution, according to media reports and university press releases. Okay. So we'll get to that about how you find this information. You don't necessarily find it in like one location. Okay. But that's actually the important part is we're into the reporting end of things here. We're going to do a little more digging again, just like we did with the megalomania. Okay. So then you had to provide the reasons again from the administration for why they did what they did. So look, there's no one specific release that talks about the last 5 years, okay? But what they do is that in each of the releases, they actually come out with releases, or the media actually will report on it, the tuition increases over the last 5 years, and they'll cite the reasons for why they'll cite Rutgers officials' reasons for why they raised tuition the way when they did. So and then usually like it's the same reason, okay? Basically like they can't afford to keep things the way they are, but they get a little more specific. So basically what I want you to do is to fill in essentially at least two reasons right here. Well, the chief reasons for this trend, the institution is attempts to cover costs of providing an increasingly expensive education. Okay. All right. And then find a quote from somebody in one of those releases or media reports. Okay. But if it's from a media report, okay, you have to basically said, you actually have to add the media report. Okay. So if it's like so and so, who president of the university or whatever, Hallway, I don't know, or told, or you have to say something like as reported by the Agipart Press. I can tell you right now though that like you don't really have to. If it's easier for you to do that, that's fine, okay. But you don't actually have to go to media sources to actually get that information, and I'll show you. I'll show you in a bit where. Now, here's the list I'm talking about. Or actually, this is the start of it. Rutgers has had tuition hikes in all years except. Okay, so basically, like I'm actually kind of giving away a bit of a hint there. It wasn't every year. Okay, university raised tuition, cite the tuition increases over. This is where you're going to basically put your list. You don't have to put it like a list like this. You just basically list the years from 2019 to 2019-20 to 2023-2024. So it says cite the tuition increases and the years, just the percentage increase and then the year, such as X percent in 2019-20. And then what you do is you do like a semicolon and you do X percent in 2020, 2021, and all the way to the current year. Okay. Rutgers did not raise tuition and blah blah blah, citing the blah 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 as a reason. So I'm giving away a bit of a hint there. There was at least a year or two where they didn't raise tuition. Please elaborate on this. Basically, their explanation for. And be honest with you, you should be able to get that. Okay, you may not even know that off the top of your head. Okay, because it made news. Okay, all right. The highest increase. This is a big one, actually. I actually think it's important to provide context. So when you're providing reasons for that trend and providing the trend and what happened over the last 5 years, it's important to show like when what was the highest increase. Okay, and you're going to be surprised when you see what year it was. Okay, and then you basically maybe cite certain reasons for why the specific year they provided it. Okay. All right, so that's the top of your story, or maybe even top to the middle of the story. And then the rest of the story should include a reaction from students, anecdotes, and how they had to live with this. How they can. Then the rest of that should actually follow the pattern we just did with the bus reaction story. That should follow the transit. This is all transitions right here, essentially, right? With quotes. Okay, but then the rest of the story should follow a transition, an anecdote, and a quote. Transition, anecdote, quote. Okay. All right. And then you end the story, get 500, 800 words, and you end it. Okay. I mean, this could be like several people right here. You could pull right off the discussion points. If you don't want to take the discussion points, you could basically just do, you could just interview people you know, whatever, or students, that sort of thing. Just get interview students. If you want to have your parents, that's fine too, actually. I'm fine with that. Okay. So where do you find this stuff? I think the best place to go, so you don't have to attribute it to a media, because when you pull something from the Agipart Press or Star Ledger, NJ.com, that sort of thing, you actually have to cite the source. Otherwise, it's plagiarism. Okay. And that makes it a little bit wordy, that sort of thing. Rutgers has a press release center. It's Rutgers Today. Okay. And I actually put that in the assignment entry itself. Okay. It's right here. Okay. You click on it right here. And it's so much easier. Just go right here. What you do is you go to their magnifying glass over here, okay? And it says search Rutgers, and you put in tuition. Oops, sorry, I misspelled it. And you're going to find all 5 press releases for the last 5 years, each press release for each year when they raise tuition or not, okay? And you might see them and see there's some percents in there, okay, for some of the years. Yes, they're all in there. So when you're actually quoting from that press release, this is actually how Rutgers delivers news, much like we did with Megalomania. They actually deliver news. They don't actually go out and hold a press conference or anything like that. They actually deliver it in a press release. So you can actually quote the university directly by going to one of those press releases. Okay. And I can actually let me just pull up one. Okay. Here's the first year. Okay. So you go to here, it says this is the first year I'm giving this away. 2.9% they raised it in 2019, 2020, right? And then they actually provide some of the reasons. They always seem to blame the teachers, right? They say the university recently reached agreement with labor unions for a 3% salary increase. So that's one of the reasons why they had to raise tuition, because they had to give us more money. Oh my God, how terrible. Paying for education. How horrible. Paying for good teaching. And then they give a quote. And remember, there was a strike this past year. Okay. So you're going to probably find it interesting when you see this year's tuition increase, unless if you didn't know. Okay. And of course, who do they blame? Us. Okay. So anyway, we know tuition increases are difficult for students, and we worked hard. So you can actually pull this quote. It's not plagiarism. This is their official statement. You can actually pull this and put this in your story if you want. Okay. That's what press releases are for. This is actually public domain material. This is their public comment on it. Okay. So you basically just fish through, find the 5 press releases that show the tuition increase or non-tuition increase for each year. Okay. All right. So that's where you find that stuff. And that's how you'll be able to find out how many times they raised it for the last 5 years. Okay. All right. And then what I don't want you to do is to go, there's some places out there like people, I tell them don't do this, and they do it anyway. There's places like College Tuition Compare. There's websites out there that are kind of like essentially like where they compile stuff and everything. And they're like trending sites and that sort of thing. And I don't want you to do that, because sometimes those places are wrong. They're off by a number, they're off by a point. Please don't go there. Okay. And they're not also the big problem is they're actually getting the information themselves. You're actually getting essentially a hearsay. You're getting a site that reported from a site. Okay. And it's not like a respected media outlet like NJ.com or the Agile Park Press or something like that. That's been around for 100 years or so. What I want you to do actually is to actually get it from either a respected news site or from the university themselves, their own press releases. Okay. I posted a discussion point. I said I did that, and here's the years again that essentially that I want you to find the hikes or non-hikes. Okay, and this is actually due in 2 weeks. So if you're having a little bit of trouble, you'll have plenty of time to basically like run this by me, find out like if you're doing the right thing, if you're following the right path. Much like I did with the Megalomania assignment. If you want to send me like a rough draft ahead of time, that sort of thing, that's fine. Okay. So yes, that is our new assignment. And again, you have the next week, I'm going to talk about our major assignment. That's going to be our very last assignment, which actually I give out before the second last assignment. There's actually 3 assignments left, including, well, actually technically 4 with the rewrite of the, you don't actually, yes, and I forgot that part. I'm sorry. The rewrite of the, well, no, actually you did that. I'm sorry, you did it right. The Megalomania assignment is due actually. So the Megalomania assignment is due on Monday, and then you have, well, I'll be giving out as a feature assignment. You'll have the data journalism assignment due 2 weeks from now, and then the rewrite for the Megalomania is due a week from now, and then you'll have the what is a feature assignment. That'll be the second last assignment. That's assignment that will count more than others, and then you'll have the very last assignment, which I'll talk about next week, which is the major assignment. It's supposed to be a more extensive assignment, that sort of thing. Okay. All right. So thanks very much, everybody. And let me know if you have any issues with anything. Thanks.